Alright, so this is a bit more a free-form just explanation of how all this stuff works. So this will go over like how Adobe Animate works as a program and like basic stuff about the principles of animation. As I think I said, this is going to be more like free-form. I'm not going to go into detail. I don't have a script for this. I'm just going to edit out the irrelevant stuff later, so let's get into it. So the first step of making an animation is planning out what you want to happen. Like usually if you have like audio, you'll do that first so you can sync up the animation to the audio. This is kind of like an animation that doesn't need audio, so I'll just do the animation first. You know when you're drawing and you have like a rough sketch of what you want and then you go over it with like a finer line and more detail, but you're just getting the idea out first. So this is what this is, but for animation. So you have the ball down here, so like the ball is gonna go up to here and it stays there in the air for a few frames, then it falls a bit because, you know, it's impacted by gravity, and then the racket is introduced to the scene, and then boom, ball gets hit by the racket, and these are just a bunch of notes. This freezes for a quarter of a second. It's a stylistic choice to really give impact to this hit. It's also a reference to something, and having a bit of fun with the notes. Impact squish because it hits the camera, and then it falls off, and then it starts falling off screen. And put all together, it looks like this. And now that doesn't look too good, and it's not supposed to look good. You know, like how a sketch doesn't look that good. This is just to get it down. Then you move on to the next part where you add like tween frames and stuff. This is like smoother animation, but it can still be refined. Boom. So yeah, now you can see there's tween frames, so instead of it just being down here and then snapping to up here, there's like movement in between. Now Adobe Animate has like automatic tweening. It's shows like, you know, classic tween, emotion tween, shape tween. But those tend to not look good because it's really stiff and like computer generated linear movement. Like if that's what you want, then by all means use it. But I prefer to do things frame by frame, but you still have the choice. So boom, like it still stays on there and then it starts falling off screen, and that looks like this. Bit smoother, but the lines and the color aren't there, and that's where we go to the final thing. I drew the ball, I gave it like color, and I made the lines thinner for a stylistic choice. But still, like, pretty much the same thing as the second sketch here, except now that it's like colored. And also, a cool thing about this ball, so with Adobe Animate, there's a thing called a symbol. A symbol works by just having the animation play out on this thing, like on its own side, like the thing of the ball spinning, and like, you know, kind of pausing there, and then it turns facing forward, and that's the last frame of it, so it just kind of extends out for the rest of the time it's going to be on screen. And then you can move this thing up and down on here, but it won't affect the art itself. Another thing about symbols is that they can also be moved, but they can also be stretched around. This is kind of stretched out, so you don't have to draw a new thing of it being stretched when you want to do that, so you can like just do that instead of having to manually draw it, which is one of the perks of Adobe Animate and most digital art, where you can just like click and drag and edit stuff and not have to like erase. So it goes up, smack, and then hits the camera, and the sound effect is just a cool sound effect for it looks like this, fully played out. So I hope you learned something from this, and bye.